Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is the fourth topic of your subject, merger and acquisition. This chapter is about initiating the deal, the buyer's perspective. That is, in the previous week we have studied the whole selling process and the preparation of the seller for assembling the whole selling plan of their business. This chapter is about the buyer's perspective about initiating the deal. Majority of business strategists actually say that it's very cheaper to buy a business and than to build a business, but the approach, together with the low interest rate and large pool of available capital, has actually created a very active market in merger and acquisition. Most our domestic market is actually clearly experienced major industry consolidation through these activities. But with all the excitement, the purchase of an existing business is actually a very challenging and complex task. Buying a big company at the right price is actually both an art and science. A majority of experienced buyers and their advisor often develop a sixth sense, which is actually an instance which give a gut feeling for the potential problems and opportunities inside a company that is actually available for sale. They use their instinct to mitigate risk and uncover certain intangible assets. This actually, the whole chapter leads the buyer through the process with focus on the preparation for the deal, creating an acquisition plan and preliminary negotiation tips. As we have already done the seller's perspective, so this whole chapter is about helping the buyer in initiating the deal. Now, the first step in regarding the buyer's perspective of initiating the deal is that the buyer has to assemble a team, and it's actually should be an internal working team, and it has must have a set of experienced external advisor, lawyers, accountants, investment bankers, valuation expert, and majority, in many cases, we can say you should also hire some services from insurance or employee benefit experts. The internal work team should include different representatives from different functional areas like finance, operations, procurement, strategic planning, etc. But an effective buyers team will not only be creative and aggressive, it also will not lose focus on the core fundamentals that drive the acquisition strategy. Like what are the acquirer or the buyer's plan after they will purchase their business, and what are their intended purpose of buying the business. For example, whether for product mix, for distributions, or for integration of efficiencies, or different production facilities, or whether they want to expand their consumer base, your customer base. So to successfully acquire companies and enhance shareholder value, there must be a cohesive thinking and constant communication among team members. That's something very much important, because all the team members are working and for the same purpose, for the same vision, acquiring the same vision for the company. So there should be a constant communication between the team members. In the middle market companies, like the chief executive officer is typically the quarterback of the acquisition team, but it can be someone appointed by the CEO. The quarterback must clearly define both the responsibility and the authority of each member, including who will be the person who will speak on behalf of the buyer, who contacts prospective sellers, who negotiate with the selected seller, and many other answers to questions like that. That they should be very clear about that what is the function of each team member in the in the team. So all parameters of operation must be clearly set. So one key decision with respect to assembling the team is whether to use an investment banker to find and evaluate targets, or whether the deal flow will be generated internally through screening, networking, and industrial contacts. In many cases, the seller may have hired intermediaries, because when you hire an intermediary like investment banker, it actually save a lot of valuable time and money. And because you can go chasing after the wrong seller, or even trying to figure out which companies have expressed an interest in selling, can be costly and time consuming. In addition, an investment banker will likely have resources and access to information unavailable to the companies. Finally, an investment banker can provide invaluable counsel on valuation and negotiation. So, the potential of saving several $1 million through smart bargaining almost always suggests justifies the existence of valuable and valuation and negotiation expert. So it would be advised to have an investment banker, because it will be beneficial for the whole deal, and for the ultimate cost of the whole deal, which is going to place in the future. Okay, now while you are going to acquire a company, or if you are planning to acquire a company, so it's very important to develop a comprehensive plan. So because this kind of activity plays a very vital role in the growth of organization, and also helps in achieving the goals and objectives of the organization. And also it may involve the external acquisition of assets and resources needed for growth. So a step that may be more efficient than internal expansion. These activities can be very useful if properly planned and properly initiated. A growing firm considering an acquisition should always begin with an acquisition plan, which identifies the objectives of transaction and criteria to be applied in analyzing the potential target companies. Obviously, you have to go with your long-term goals, long-term vision of the company. Based upon that, you will take certain steps. So you have to find out those companies which can be helpful in achieving your targets, your goals. So it also not only that, this kind of plan which you are developing, it also identifies the value efficiencies and cost saving that will result from the proposed transaction, and answer the fundamental question how will the buyer's professional management or brand equity enhance the performance or profitability of the seller's company. The plausible answer may vary, but generally they include a desire to accelerate growth in revenues and profits, and strengthening the buyer's competitive position. Not only that, broaden existing product lines, entering into different geographical areas, different geographical markets, or no, or different market segments, which will be actually part of your diversification strategy. But and when we look into the plan, the major targets, or the major requirement of a plan, that is that it should identify the target industry. And secondly, it lists the criteria for evaluation you can take within these target industry, and why is the company is trying to pursue these kind of policies. Because the main emphasis is to have synergies, as synergy is a key consideration in merger and acquisition. If buyer pays exactly what the business is worth on a stand basis, then any benefit obtained from the plan charges, that is synergy, is profit to the buyer. So if a buyer adds, but if this kind of activity, or you can say this kind of future transaction have no value to the seller's operation, then paying fair value does not make the buyer any better or worse off than without the transaction. So this basic economic principle is the premise for why combined companies make sense in today's economy. Simply, if a company is worth more to a buyer than a seller, then there is a reason to do deal where both parties win. So it's very important that we have to develop a comprehensive plan and identify that whether the transaction would be beneficial for both of the parties or one party or whatsoever, because at this point the buyer is making the planning. So most of the cases they are the parties who want to benefit from that plan, because they want to create synergy, they want to be to pursue their growth strategy. So you have to develop a comprehensive plan which will help you to pursue your goals and can say achieve synergies from that transaction. Now, heading towards developing a comprehensive acquisition plan. The first step in developing an acquisition plan is to identify the major or key objectives of the future plan of acquisition. It might be possible that you have different kinds of growth objectives or expansion objectives, depending upon the industry you are working, depending upon the management, or depending upon the key people who are working in the organization. But the major advantages provided by the acquisition should be considered, and there are many key objectives. Like for example, the company want to achieve certain kind of operating synergies and or economies of scale with respect to certain manufacturing facilities, certain research and development activities, your management team, or marketing and distribution channel. Secondly, there are certain cases in which the company cannot in itself do manufacture or work in certain industries or certain products. So in order to obtain the rights or to develop certain products and services, they can hire, or they can acquire, or they can merge with certain target companies in order to have rights of producing or developing that products or services. Thirdly, certain times the companies want to stabilize their earnings or their earning stream, and secondly, they want to mitigate their risk of business failure through diversification of its products and services. Obviously, they when you are working in different industries, it will decrease your overall risk, but in certain cases it's should be analyzed that stakeholders don't feel good about this diversification thing, because they think that the company is losing its focus. So by analyzing the kind of shareholders you have, analyzing the response of your shareholders, you can pursue your diversification strategies with the help of acquisition or mergers. Then next, deploy excessive cash in a tax efficient project. Since both distribution of dividends and stock redemptions are generally taxable events for shareholders, so in that case, this kind of option would be pursued. Or achieve certain production and distribution economies of scale through vertical integration, which involves the acquisition of key suppliers or customer. As plan of your expansion, you can go for vertical expansion. That means you can hire your suppliers, or you can acquire your suppliers, or you can have the access to your distribution channels, or purchase your customer, or something. So in that case, you can get an access over, or you can have a control over the whole value chain of your business. Or exploit residual assets that have been underdeveloped or undeveloped by the target's company's retiring or burnout management team. That means that there are certain top managers or team which are due to retire, or the key managers who may have recently died, or they want to leave the business with certain underutilized assets that can be exploited by acquiring that company. So there are certain assets which are not being properly utilized, so that can be properly utilized by acquiring them. Or strengthen key business areas such as research and development or marketing. Sometimes it is more efficient to fill these gaps through an acquisition rather than attempting to build the department internally. That means that in the internal by deploying or by spending too much time or energy for developing the department internally, you can acquire developed or strengthen business areas of certain companies in order to get the benefit from that. Or you want to penetrate into a new geographical market, because there are certain areas in which you cannot go by yourself. So in order to work in that geographical area, it would be cheaper for you to acquire the companies which are already working in that area, and in order to diversify your market, or and have access to that different customers who are working over who are there in that geographical area. Or you can acquire additional plant and production capacities, which can be helpful in your exploiting your expansion plan, or achieve economies of scale, or in order to in order to have cost benefits or synergies. Or having to take up advantage of a bargain. That means the target company may be available at distressed price, which trends to price the interest of growing companies even if they are not necessarily looking for acquisition candidates. This situation often comes about because of death or divorce of affecting the company's founders. That means that the company was previously in a very good condition, but there are certain unfortunate situation in which that company is now going to retire, or they are willing to sell their companies. So that would be a very lucrative option for the companies who are at that time not looking for an acquisition, or a target company who are going to sell, but they at that point they think that it's very good opportunity to acquire that company. So in that case you can do this. Or acquire certain patents, copyrights, trade secrets, or other intangible assets that are available only by means of an acquisition. That means certain companies have patents of producing certain things or certain products, and you cannot do it by yourself, but you can access to, or you can acquire that company to produce that products which you want to produce, but you are unable because that company has patents or copyrights or trademarks of that production facility. Or moreover, there are many objectives. So whatever your objective is, when you are developing your objective statement, there are certain key questions you should answer, and that are very important. That is, why we are doing this. Are we convinced that the growth via acquisition makes sense as compared to the other form of growth strategies, such as internal expansion, joint venture, franchising, licensing, or capital formation? Does this improve our competitive position? That means that we are working in a market in order to acquire customer, or in order to beat our competitors. And if the certain acquisition plan is help you to strengthen the competitive position of your company in the market, so obviously that would be a very good option. So, or the next, the will the shareholders value be enhanced? That means that if we look into the major objectives of the companies who are working, and what are the financial objectives of the company, the major objective is to enhance the shareholders value. So if the acquisition is going to enhance the shareholder value, so that would be a very good option for the company. So you have to answer this question as well. If yes, have we identified and evaluate the key value drivers, obviously, of the proposed transaction? That is protectable intellectual property distribution channels, efficiency, durability of recurring revenues, loyal and dedicated customer base, etc. That means that there are certain key things which will be going to enhance your value of the company. So you have to identify those key value drivers which will help to enhance the value. Then you have to identify these things at this point. Or are we really enhancing our shareholders value and competitive position as a result of this deal? then you should not be more optimistic, or you can say you should not be very much of a positivism that these things would be very good, and ignoring certain key risks regarding that deal. So first of it's very important that you identify in a very real sense that whether the deal will be helping in the value creation or improving your competitive position or not. After identifying and clearly assessing these things, you will be in a good position to initiate the deal. Now, the next, or you can say second step in developing the acquisition plan is that you have to draft the plan. After identifying the key objectives, the second step is that you have to draft that plan. And because the acquisition plan defines the key objectives of the buyer, the relevant trends in the target market, the method for finding the prospective candidates, and generating the deal flow, especially critical when it is seller's market and competition for deal flow is very intense. Then the criteria to be used to evaluate candidates, because you might find many people who are willing to sell their business, but what is more appropriate for you, because you are that you are going to going to integrate that business into your business activity. So obviously you have to evaluate that candidates, whether that in the future transaction would be in what conditions that future transaction would be beneficial for you. So according to that, you will target certain customer and identify and evaluate that target candidates. So the target budgets and timeline for accomplishing the transaction, obviously you have certain financial barriers, financial constraints, and your time limits. So you have to see all your timelines and your budget available for that prospective transaction. The projected range of prices, the past acquisition track record of the company, the amount of external capital that will be required to accomplish the transaction, and related issues. That means that you can go and have financing facility as well. So for that transaction, what type of sources are available? And one of the key goal of acquisition plan is to clearly define the characteristic of its ideal targets. The field is initially narrowed by choosing acquisition as a growth strategy over alternatives such as franchising or strategic alliances. So it is narrowed again by targeting the industry from which a company will be chosen. Obviously, you are working in a particular industry, but if you want to diversify, or if you want to made expansion in different geographical areas or any other thing, so you have to identify the industry as well in which you are going to if, you are going to buy that perspective customer perspective business. And it is narrowed further by developing criteria to screen the possible candidates. Obviously, after identifying the industry in which you are going to acquire the company, and next would be that you have to identify, or you have to develop a certain criteria in that industry as well, that you want to have that candidates in that particular criteria. So this narrowing process is in most cases will yield a small but viable field of attractive candidates that can be approached. So there are many other benefits which have a well prepared acquisition plan, that would include that provides a roadmap for companies leadership to follow, and because obviously it has written they have written everything. So obviously the leadership can identify the key prospects and key plans in the future, so it will provide as a roadmap for the company's leadership. And in the next, it's very important that your shareholders, who are the real owners of that business, so it will help them to this plan will help them to inform that what are the key objectives of the company. And it also reduce certain professional or advisory fee by clarifying certain objectives, or obviously you have developed criteria, so it serve as it a well-written plan serve as a screen or filter that will filter out those deals that do not meet the certain criteria or long-term objective of the company. Next, it will help to identify certain risks during certain transaction, and obviously, if you pursue certain transaction which later on would not provide you benefit you were expecting, so it will create frustration. So by developing a clear plan, which it will mitigate certain risks of that transaction, and you will anticipate certain problems, certain disadvantages regarding that transaction. So that will also clarify your objective. So it identifies post-close integration challenges well in advance. Obviously, once you have you have a very good company in hand and you have purchased that company, but later on there are certain issues which will be very fatal in the post closing period of integration. So you have to identify this thing, identify and clarify that challenges as well, because now the next step after purchasing is that you have to integrate that the whole business into your own operations. So what would be the challenges, whether that all the activities would be welcomed by the company in which you are going to integrate those things, and so on. There are many challenges, so you have to identify those challenges, and it also helps to inform your seller who are going to sell their business about the company, and obviously they are the people who are also find also making their plans for selling their business, and they are actually making criteria, or you can say that they are developing their selling plan, or and developing and choosing their prospective customers. So in that case, it's very helpful for them to identify your objectives, and as in the today's marketplace and with recent trends towards consolidation strategies, it is particularly very important that the seller, especially when the buyer's stock is a large component of the consideration, understand, accept, and respect the buyer's acquisition strategy and growth plans for consolidating company. The well-prepared acquisition plan can be a valuable negotiation tool in dealing with your sellers' concerns with the value and continued growth of the buyer stock. So that means that it will play a very significant role when you develop a well-comprehensive plan and you draft that plan as well. So it would be helpful to the buyer in itself, and your shareholders, and the people working in the companies, and also for the seller who are actually selling you their business to you. So you should have a well written plan for your acquisition strategy which you are going to pursue in the future. The acquisition plan will also identify certain other aspects like the target size of the acquisition candidates. That means that you have to identify that the companies you are going to acquire or merge with merge, what would be the probable size of these candidates, because you need these companies for further expansion, further diversification. So obviously the appropriate size of these target acquisition should be identified. And next, the financing source which is available. There are many financing sources, and so you have to identify that what are the most probable source of finance available for acquiring that company. Then the method for finding candidate, that means internal search or use of intermediaries. That means that whether the company is going to search internally, they have their team and the developing that team, and the team will do all the tasks for regarding that searching for the candidates, or you can hire an intermediary, that would be an investment banker that will going to do the search for you. So next would be the desired financial returns or operating synergies to be achieved as a result of acquisition, because the main objective of your acquisition is to is growth. That is the your growth strategy. So obviously there are certain certain targets and certain intended plans for operating synergies. So you have to identify that the desired financial returns or synergies as well in this acquisition plan. Then minimum and maximum range and rates of acceptable revenue, growth, earnings and net worth of the seller, obviously because you are developing a criteria at this stage. So in this stage you can develop a range of minimum and maximum and acceptable rates regarding the revenues of your customer, their growth, the earning growth, and the overall worth of the business of the seller. And the next thing, that's something very much important, that is that you have to identify that after acquiring, what would the impact of that acquisition on on your existing shareholders, because these are the people who are the real owners. So what would be their expression, and what would be their response to that acquisition, because in certain time they think diversification as lack of focus of the company. So that should be considered while you are acquiring the business, that what would be the probable impact of this strategy on your shareholders. And the likely competing bidders for qualified candidates. That means that the competing bidders are those people who are actually are going to purchase the same company, and they are willing to purchase that company, and they are also bidding for the purchase of that company. So what would be the competing bidders, obviously, and you have to identify their range of their prices and with their range of their bids, and according to that you can develop your plan for the bids. So the member of the acquisition team and each of their roles, obviously you have to develop an acquisition teams, and not only you can identify the key people who are be the members of that acquisition, but also you can identify that what would they be their roles. That means that who will going to negotiate them, who will going to do the research work, and many other things that would be the responsibility of the whole team. So you have to identify the members, the key members, and also their roles, which they will perform in that team. The nature and types of risk the buyer is willing to assume. That is, there are obviously, when you are going to pursue a future strategies, there are certain risks, but certain risks are actually, because when you are going to take risk, obviously there are certain, you are targeting certain profits. So you have to identify that what are the risk you are going to take, and what are risk you want to you want to avoid. So that's something very much important. Then the desired geographical location of the target company, obviously if you are, your target is, or if your plan is to diversify geographically, so obviously you have to identify the geographical location of that company you are going to purchase, and the desired demographic and buying habits of the seller's company customers. Obviously when you are going to doing to acquire a company, so there are certain certain customers and of that company. So you have to identify the key characteristics of those customer, because now those customers are your customers, and you have to satisfy those customers. So you have to identify the demographics and buying habits and habits of those customers. You would know who will be probably your future customers. So the plan to retain or replace the management team of the target company, even though this policy may vary by candidates, but it includes a section addressing at least your preliminary plans. That means that when you are going to acquire that company, the company comes with their management team, their resources, their assets, and all those things. So what are your plans regarding those of the management team, that whether you want to retain that the team as they are working in the previous company, or you are going to change their position, or you're going to replace them? What would be the what would is your plan, will be your plan? It might be possible that in the long run you have different plans, but at least what would be your preliminary plan regarding those management team? And your willingness to consider turnaround or troubled companies. Each buyer will have a different tolerance level. That means some want and prefer to the cost saving of buyer a fixer upper company, while other prefer the company to be pretty much intact. So that means that you have to identify that what are your turnaround your strategies, or your plans regarding turnaround or troubled companies. Then your tax and financial preferences for asset and stock transactions. That obviously when you buy that company, so your tax, that has a significant impact on your taxes and your financial preferences. So you have to identify the key issues regarding that as well. And your openness to full versus partial ownership of the seller's entity, or you're willing to consider a spin-off sale, such as a purchase of asset of an operating division, or stock of a subsidiary. So you have to identify that thing. Or your interest or willingness to launch an unfriendly takeover of a publicly held company, or buy the debt from largest credit of prevailing held company. So that privately held company. That means these are the certain key aspects which you have to answer while you are going to acquire a company. So whether you want to have a hostile takeover, or that was hostile takeover might be for a public limited company, or you can have a large credit from any financial institution in order to take the privately held company. So that means that what are your key plans regarding certain things. So you have to answer those questions, and then pursue your acquisition strategy. Now you have developed a comprehensive acquisition plan, and all the important issues are being addressed in the acquisition plan. The next step is now to apply the criteria, and the major decisions or major issues regarding this criteria are already discussed in the in developing of the plan. But it should be relatively easy to define the selection criteria and screen the candidates. There are many things which will involve, and there are many things which which the company should identify while qualifying their prospective candidates. First of all, the history of stable financial and growth performance over different market cycles and under different conditions. It might not possible that you have a very strong financial company available, because obviously they are selling their company, so there are certain issues regarding that. But as the key you can say the analyst, you can identify that what are the history of the different financial and growth performance of that company when they are in different their market cycles, like in recession, depression, or in the boom period, or in the certain other condition, like when there are certain inflationary problems, or other kind of problems in the market. So what would the performance of that company in under these different market cycles and conditions? Then a market leader in that industry niche and in its geographical region. That means that what are the market leaders of that industry or of that geographical area. A company with recognized brand name and established market share. Obviously you want to target a company which will help you in the future. So if it has a recognized and well established brand name and have consumer and large consumer base or market share, so that will be helpful for you to be expand in that market more easily, and to or launch a product, or generate revenue in that particular brands. Or the next would be that product not susceptible to obsolescence or rapid technological change. Because once you analyze into external environment, the technological change is is something which poses a great threat to the company. So you have to identify that the products you are going to purchase, or the products which are actually the brands, or the of that company which you are going to acquire, are actually subject to very rapid technological change. So that means that you have to put too much effort into your research and development in your lab activities. So you have to identify that, and you have, if it is that case, and are you ready for that kind of aggressive research and technology, or development facilities in your company, or a strong management team with research and development capabilities, because you are acquiring that company with their management team. So the certain characteristic and certain aspect of the management team should be also addressed, and should also be identified. Then their relationship with economic relationship, favorable relationship with customers, vendors, creditors, and debtors, because this is the company now they would become your part of your company. So obviously the relationship matters, because you have to we have to have channelize with the customer of that company, with the vendors of that company, their creditors and their debtors. So you have to identify that thing as well. Then obviously you have targeting that company for your growth. So what is the room for growth or excess capital capabilities in manufacturing or production? So you have to identify that thing as well. And what is the maximum and minimum range of revenues which will going to increase while you are acquiring that company. That range may be your cash flow, your earning before interest and taxes, your depreciation, and your earning before interest and taxes depreciation. So all these things as should be very much identified before you are qualifying that company. So developing, applying a criteria is very much important. Then definite range of purchase price, that means a range for purchase price considering addressing a preferred ratio of stock, cash, and earn out. All these things has to consider while you are identifying your purchase price for that particular company you are going to purchase. Then geographical location. Obviously if you are target the company in different geographical areas, and so obviously you have to identify where the geographical location you want to acquire that company, and whether that company is working in that geographical area or not. And the future about the management team as well, that whether an existing management teams that agrees to remain in place for up to years. That means that whether the management team is willing to be there with you, or you are willing to place that company management team for many years. So the buyer must be ready to mix and match, accept compromises in some areas, but it should be careful not to overlook too many votes, lest you end up with a deal that will regret later. So again, the goal is to compare the acquisition objectives to strengths and weaknesses of each seller. The acquisition team must have a very clear idea as to how each targeted company will complement the buyer's strengths or mitigate its weakness. The qualitative and quantitative screening criteria suggest that the buyer team ensures that the right candidates are selected. So they are intended to filter out the wrong deals and mitigate the chances of post-closing regrets and problems. So applying a criteria is something very much important, because you not only mitigate your risk, but you can easily qualify the right customer, the right target company which will be valuable for you in the future. Now when you have developed a criteria, so it has actually identified a clear picture in front of the management team, that what they want to do, and what are their probable targets, and what are the ideal fit, or what are the ideal candidates for that company. So once you have identified that, so you can pinpoint some certain ideal candidates for you. But the major challenge is that once you find your ideal candidate, but you realize that that company is not for sale. So what should the management team do when they find such kind of conditions? So in such kind of condition, the owner of the company, the owner of the target company should be approached by the senior member of your management, your buying team, and they inform them that they are the probable target of your company, and they are the ideal candidates for your acquisition or merger. So and they are very much important for the long and interest of your company. And this kind of arrangement can be done in three different ways. Firstly, you can introduce yourself and give information about your company's business, their long-term objectives, their strategic directions, and then their growth rates regarding different markets and geographical areas, their financial highlights, like their operating and financial position, and different conditions of their your cash flows, and different other financial highlights which would be available, and explain them that why the target company is compelling fit for the buyers. That means that why you are very much interested in that company, and why the buyer is very much anxious to acquire that company. So this will let the prospective seller identify that you are a very lucrative buyer for them, and they should give them your serious consideration, and if they are willing, so they can be acquired by you. So second would be that request a meeting in order to discuss strategic fit and alternative for how the two companies can establish more formal relationship, so they can work together, and they can find out a concept of formal structural relationship, that after the acquisition, what would be the future relationship between both the companies, and what would be helpful for both of them, or maintain a contact once and then the third case is that at that point in time, the seller is not willing, the target company is not willing to sell their company. So in that case, you should constantly maintain a contact after the meeting, even if the owner is instead that even if he is not willing to sell your company, and after that you can call them periodically and maintain a level of positive communication between them, and maybe it would lasted for years, and sometimes in certain years or certain time in future, the owner can make decision to sell. And while you are not going to sit idle by, some companies may always be good acquisition targets. By maintaining contacts, you can develop a relationship with the seller and create an environment of mutual trust and respect. So this will help you to acquire that company. So with all your candidate express interest, if your candidates express interest, you will want to act quickly and establish momentum. You should not waste much time, because once they have taken the decision, so you can act quickly and take a certain valuable step in order to complete the transaction. And you should set a meeting to learn what are the personal objectives of that seller, the companies, and review the company's operating and financial performance, and identify any concerns or reservation the seller may have. Your goal is to get the information you needed to determine preliminary price, and to structure a letter of intent that outlines the key points of the proposed acquisition. So you can complete all these things as quickly as possible in order to complete the sale. Now, after considering companies who are not for sale, and you actually go and persuade them for your acquisition, the another issue that needs attention of the buyer's management team is that you have because they have to deal with sellers management team, and there are many managers who are actually at the very important position of the company, and you have to decide whether you will keep those managers, and for after the integration, you want to keep them, or you want to fire them, or if you want, and what are their key role in the integration of the company. So you will have to ally with their you have to ally and address their concern about their job security and their career ahead with your company, because because most of the manager do not believe that you were actually planning to keep them. So uh, and it's likely that the best managers leave their job, and they feel that their job will not, they'll be in the future they will actually lose this job. So obviously they'll go and find themselves a new or better job for them. So it's very important that you should answer certain important questions of these manager, like what change you are expecting from the result of that transaction, that is that after the purchasing of that company, what you are planning to do and what kind of change you want to do. So you have to communicate these things to the manager. And in the next, that's something very much important, is the direction of the combined entity. Because in the next in the after the transaction, the status of the company would be changed. That would be the combined entity. So in that case, with that integration, and with that synergies, what it would be the direction of that company and what they want to do in the future. So and will I still have a job? That means that whether you are keeping that manager or not, you have to communicate them very clearly, because it's ethically very important that you should provide them clear picture for their job. So then whether they are you are whether they whether you are containing them or retaining them for the current position they are working, and how their performance will be evaluated after, because after that their upper management team or upper team would be corporate team would be changed. So that case, how you will be evaluating them, whether they will better or worse off as a result of this transaction, whether they'll get something better, or in case of salaries, in case of rewards, or in case of their role as as a role in the new entity, and what type of compensation you are going to pay them. So you have to answer all these questions, because that will help them to clarify their position in the new entity. Then communicating your vision and performance expectation is very critical to obtaining management commitment early on, because if you want them to be committed to your organization, and you are planning to retain them in your business in the future. So in that case, communication in your vision and their performance expectation is very much important. And a good way to do this is to have the seller's current management team play a role in developing the post-closing integration and communication plans. There are many tangible ways of demonstrating your long-term commitment to the seller's manager, and thereby revealing any personal career and anxieties. Obviously, you will help them to release their anxiety of after you complete the transaction. So you have to propose salaries and wage adjustment if appropriate, to bring compensation up to your company's or industry level. Establish an incentive bonus plan tied to realistic attainable goals. Provide employees contract to key members of the management team. Review the salaries benefit plans and ensure employees that transfer will be orderly and very fair. Explain any potential structural change with care and clarity, because you have to ensure that a history of good communication, equity, and trust is established. And the acquisition teams, actually, when you are doing all these things, you are building trust with your new managers, so which will help you to enhance their performance, and overall enhance the performance of the new combined entity. As the acquisition team's primary focus is to establish companies that will enhance shareholders value and contribute to the growth and profitability of the combined entity, it was very important that identified acquisition plan and the rigorous analysis of whether a potential target meet the criteria will help accomplish that goal. So it's very important that you should develop a complete plan, and develop a comprehensive plan that will help the company in the in the later phases of the transaction. Buyer's acquisition process. As in the previous slide we have discussed different aspects of buyer's acquisition process, and when they are planning for acquisition, and what kind of activities are involved, and what kind of potential issues which have to be addressed while making an acquisition productive and successful. So these are the certain steps which are involved in the whole acquisition process by the buyer. And the first step is develop an acquisition objective, and we have discussed these things in the previous slide into detail, that what kind of objective the buyer is actually pursuing with this acquisition. So they have to clearly outline those objectives, like for example whether they are going for synergies for in different functional areas, or whether they want to acquire certain suppliers, or so on, many other aspects. So you have to identify these objectives. Secondly, analyze projected economic and financial gains to be achieved by the acquisition, because these are by doing acquisition, the buyer is pursuing its growth objectives. So obviously they want to increase their financial gains, profits. So that's why whether when they are achieving that company, whether what kind of financial and economic gains they are pursuing, and what is their vision, or actually goals, that how much financial and economic gains they want to attain from that acquisition. So they have to clearly project that, project that, or you can make certain projected statements and certain outcomes with the help of certain software and certain economic and financial tools. Third is that you have to assemble an acquisition team. You might have managers or accountants or many other experts within your company, or you can hire an investment banker, which can save a lot of time, by a lot of time and money, and give you expert advice regarding different activities of acquisition and finding the prospective customer for your acquisition. Then conduct the due diligence analysis of prime candidates. That means that you have to find out certain legal and certain type of things which have to be first addressed before going to address your candidates, and certain legal and certain other things have to be addressed before. So you have to do the due diligence. Then conduct initial negotiation and valuation of the selected target. That means that when you have a potential target or prospective targets that you are going to purchase or you're going to acquire, so you have to go do the negotiation with them and valuation of and make their valuation, because you have to have a post transaction valuation, and you have to see that whether after the transaction you will be better off or not. So you have to value that thing, and after that you have to select the structure of transaction, that whether what kind of transaction would be done by you, whether you will pay in stocks, whether you pay in cash, and so on. Many other type of transaction facilities are there. So you have to identify that what would be the structure of your transaction when you are going to acquire a company. Then identify source of financing for the transaction, because when you are acquiring a company, you need finances. So whether these finances will be generated internally, or you can issue equity, or you can go for any go and have a loan from any kind of financial institution or any other source. So you have to identify that. Then conduct detailed bidding and negotiation. That's something very much important, because you are not the only one who wants to acquire that company. So you have to make detailed bidding and negotiation with your prospective targets. Then obtain all shareholders and third party consents approval, because the shareholders are the real owners, and any other third party like your minority shareholders or any other thing which are there, and or key suppliers or any other thing, other kind of your partner or any third party which are interested in your company, and if you think that they might have any issues regarding that transaction, so you have to get consents from them, and then structure the legal documents, because obviously there are certain legal activities involved in that. So you have to prepare all the legal documents regarding the transaction, and prepare the closing. Then obviously when you acquire that company, you have to close the transaction, prepare first of all you have to prepare for the closing, and then you have to hold the closing process, in which you will going to close the transaction and take all the hold of all the assets and details of the company, and so on. Then take after that, once you have closed everything, and there are certain post closing tasks and responsibility which you have to accomplish. So you have to do all those things, then implement the integration of the two entities, because after the closing, now from the two separate entities there are one single entity, and there are certain important step regarding the integration of your asset, integration of the management, and so on. So you have to implement all the integration planning you have done previously, because you have already planned for integration. So you have to implement carefully all the integration plans in order to merge the two entities, and in order to get the potential benefit which you have intended for your future. So you have to perform all these activities. These are the step involved in the buyer's acquisition process.